Okay, we are ready to go. Okay, this is, I don't know what number Braid Girls this is. It's Braid Girls Lots. And I'm really excited because today I have Cinnamon with me. And this is going to be kind of a different Braid Girls from the other, because what Cinnamon and I are going to be doing is we're going to be doing a weekly podcast together. And we're going to call it Jills of All Trade. Did I get it right? Not trades, girl. Jills
No, it is trades.
Is it trade? Did I get it backwards?
Because it's more than one trade that we're going over.
Okay, Jills of All Trades.
Yes.
We're super excited. We have different backgrounds, but I feel like we have a lot in common as far as like our work ethic and kind of what we both want out of life. I think we have so much to talk about. And Cinnamon, what fascinates me about her is that she is a home organizer, almost kind of a lifestyle coach. That's kind of what I think of when you tell me what your job is about. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you do in your life?
Well, I think that with any job that you have, the best case scenario is that you enjoy it. And it's even more awesome when you get to experience the rewards of it. I think that, it's amazing how God made us to enjoy helping others, and like it actually brings a satisfaction in itself. And then on top of it, I get paid to do that. And so that's wonderful. I love to do it. And I do have a couple of different clients that we're just working on purely organizing their entire house before we start to clean it. So setting everything up, everything has a function, everything has a place. So then that way it's so much easier to clean up because you know exactly where everything goes. And it's also a process of going through things. Some people can let go of things very easily, and then other people have, it's kind of, I don't know, a lot of people experience it. There's certain scenarios where it's like a saying that everybody has used before. Like if they get something that somebody made them, something that somebody has made them, they'll say, well, I don't want to get rid of that because I feel bad, and unless, and there are people who do this, but unless those people are ones who go into your home and look around to see if you still have that belonging, which I've met some people who have family members who do that, they're not going to notice. And the thing is that when you are giving a gift to somebody, it's not supposed to be a burden to them. It's supposed to be up to them what they do with it. And so as we're going through these things, there's a lot of, well, we'll keep this just in case. But for instance, I would absolutely love to play guitar. I'm very musical. I catch on very quick. When I was in high school, I actually had one of my coworkers who came over, I think, on 3 or 4 different occasions for like an hour. And he was teaching me how to do guitar. And by the end of it, I knew how to do 2 songs. I caught on very, very quickly, and I loved it. And funny story, he ends up being my brother-in-law. He married one of my sisters. So definitely a small world. And so then I did have time. But if I look at my life right now, I have the guitar. But do I need to hold on to it? Because even though there's that want that I would love to play guitar, I would love to learn and stuff, you have to be very, what's the word I'm thinking of? Realistic. Are you actually going to have time to learn to play that guitar? Because there's a lot of times where I'll be going through some stuff with people and they'll say, well, I plan on doing this, or I plan on doing this project. I plan on doing that. And, so I'll be like, okay, you have to think positively, like they are going to be able to do all those things. So what I do is I'll actually make a list of everything that they plan on doing. And then we kind of go over their schedule. And what you do is that you actually pinpoint when you can start and do it. And if you really don't see an opening about it, and if are you really going to put the time into I want to say like knitting a quilt, or like a huge project that I've had a couple of people do, which I actually did myself, is making a blanket out of memorabilia shirts, like
Mm-hmm.
ones throughout high school and all that. Because I also did have a lady who had 10 bags of her kids' shirts. And she said, and think of how much space that's taking up, you know, where she couldn't use it, and it was just being off into a separate room. So the reason she was holding on to it, that she told me, was because she said, well, I don't know if I have all of these shirts photographed. So I don't know if I have, you know, proof of them, or I have, you know, the kids in them. And I said, well, why don't you lay them out and take a couple of really nice pictures so you have them? Because if you think about it, if you have a fire, are you going to grab those 10 bags of shirts, or are you going to grab a photo album? You know, it takes up a lot less space. You have that satisfaction that you're not going to forget those things, and you have proof of them. So we also did that with, she had 6 of those really big science fair boards that they fold out and stuff. And she kept them just because her mom threw everything out that was hers, that was memorabilia. And so she's like, you know, they're going to want that, you know, later and stuff. So I talked her into taking a picture of it, and then that was gone, you know? And so taking a picture is actually very good, especially nowadays when little kids, when they're in school, if they have a bunch of art projects and stuff, there's only so much you can fit on a fridge. And you don't want to hurt their feelings by throwing all that stuff away. So what one of my sisters actually does is, you know, when they come home with an art project, she'll be like, okay, let's get a picture with you with it. And they know that they're going to take a picture with it, and then they throw it away. Because, you know, they appreciate the artwork, and that's the picture that gets hung up. You know, it's very small. And so, yeah, and it's just amazing going through this stuff. It's a little hard at first, but if you're basically like their cheerleader, you know, you can do this. It's okay. You know, are you going to do this? You ask the difficult questions, but you don't put any kind of pressure on it whatsoever, because ultimately it is their decision. And a lot of these times I do have to say their family members, if they have a lot of things, their family members will kind of be like, you know, why don't you just get rid of it? Or why don't you, you know, kind of like yelling at them when, you know, it's their possessions. It's up to them whether they want to let go of it or anything like that. So as I'm going with it, going through those things with them, there's no pressure. If they want, even if they say they want to keep something that I don't think would be plausible, we'll keep it and we'll put it off to the side. And then in that category, we'll put them all together to see, like, if you have, yeah, I like that puzzle, I like that puzzle, I like that puzzle. And then all of a sudden you have 20 puzzles. Let's look at the spot in your house that you have, you know, to put those puzzles. And then usually they're able to let go of a little bit more once they see everything they have of a certain group. So I have a lot of different methods depending on like what you're going through.
and I think from my point of view, it's not that things don't benefit us. It's like from a prepper point of view, if you're a homesteader, a lot of times you have a little bit of a prepper tendency, and you're like, when the world ends, what if I don't have X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And I find that and especially if you're on a limited budget, it can make you feel scared not to hold on to things, not to hold on to the extra 5 pairs of shoes for your kids that are all the same size, you know, and those kind of things. And what I find helps me, because I do have a slightly prepper hoarder mentality, is to say, well, I can accept it. If I find that I don't use it, I can turn it into a collection of things. I can put it on Craigslist and I can sell it. And then the money that I have from that, I can go buy the tool that I really need. Right. So they can bless us even though they don't stay in our house anymore. You know?
Right. A really big saying, when I'm helping people go through things, something that kind of helps them go through it a little bit better is 2 things. Are you going to use it? and are you going to display it? So I always say, items don't have feelings, and if they did, they would be hurt by being put back into the box, into the back of the closet. And yes, if there's a lot of things that people just hold on to just because they've held on to it for so long. And I'm guilty of that too. I started helping people go through things, and then I went to my own closet, and I don't have anybody with me, to help coach me to, who is not attached to these items. And I started looking through things, and I'm like, oh no, there's that. And I'm like, wait, no. This item, I've been moving it from from different houses and stuff, and I don't use it. And I'm like, why am I holding on to it? And like, it really is a freeing thing. And stress is amazing what stress can do to us. It can, weight gain, you can have lack of sleep, your mood swing. Like, stress is a huge thing that can have such a huge effect on us. And if we have anything that we can do in order to lessen that stress, like, you would be amazed at even doing a little bit of a project. And another thing that I'm really big on is doing a little bit at a time. For instance, if I have a sink full of dishes that need to be done, and if I could not get to all of them, there are some people that believe, well, if I start on a project, and I don't finish the entire thing, I'm not going to be happy. But even the little bit of progress that you have is a little bit of stress off, And I also, a lot of things that I suggest is making a list. And the reason being is that there's like this scientific study that they've done where if you make a list and you check something off, your body actually releases endorphins. Yeah. So when you're first making the list, that's telling yourself that, you've already started working on something. It's down on the piece of paper. It's, you know what I mean? So yeah. I always talk about doing lists and then prioritizing the list and then setting a date, but not a date where you don't want to set a deadline where it's unrealistic, or if you don't get to it, that's going to add more stress to you because it's something, you know what I mean? So you want to set realistic goals, and you want to make sure you have even an extra, day or two that you give like plenty of time to get it done. Unless, say in like 2 months, I have to move or something. Something that I would do is I would see like how many rooms I have and how many weeks. So like if I have like 6 rooms that need to be gone through and packed up or whatever, and I have 6 weeks, that's a room a week, and if you can get done even faster, excellent. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about prioritizing and getting a plan to do things. So
yeah. And I think for me, if I don't do a list, then everything that I have in my brain runs around in circles around each other. And it's like they create like mega super stress power. And if I write it down on a list and I go to the things that scare me the least, and I see myself start to check them off, it's so fun to just be like, oh, well, that one was super easy. That took me 5 minutes. I can do another one. Well, I can totally do another one. And I usually find that if I do have a list, I find that, the momentum that comes just from having started, like you said, is such that by the end of the day, I need to make a new list because, I got everything done. And now I have nothing on my brain when I want to sit down and cuddle my kids and eat a nice dinner. And I really think that having too much stuff is part of what makes us feel like we have to have so many lists. Because I think we feel unsettled in our mind when we're surrounded by things that aren't useful. And maybe even like, I love feng shui. I love feng shui because it talks about the emotions that things create in you, that you should never have anything in your home that creates sadness, that creates anger, that, you like you said, you don't have things on display unless you love them. And that way in your safe harbor, which is your home, it's why I love my room so much, is because I have quilts that were made by my YouTube channel, and I have towels that were made by people that I love. And I think life is too short to put things on display that don't spark joy in your life. And when you have other things that are cluttered that block it, I think that, but it's constant, isn't it? It never quits. There's always an influx.
It is, because you're constantly getting stuff. If you know, it's Easter, so then, you know, you get those eggs, those eggshells. Do you save them for next year, or do you do something different, or did you know what I mean? There's constantly bringing stuff in, and kind of what you were talking about with display, and kind of brushing up a little bit more on the picture thing. I actually had from kindergarten that I saved all throughout high school and everything. I had in a shoebox. It was, well, maybe not kindergarten. It was probably like 2nd or 3rd grade. But when we would do those clay molds, and they would heat it, and then you'd paint it and stuff. Well, I had one of a penguin and one of a lion and stuff. And I just kept it in a shoebox. I'm like, well, I've had it for so long. But then I'm like, you know, I graduated college, and I'm like, am I going to display this in my house? Like, it's cool. I did it, you know, and I kept it for so long, you know. Or another one that I hear a lot is, I've spent so much money on it though.
Yeah, it's huge. That's the big one.
You spent a lot of money on it, you're going to have to take a loss, because it's sitting here in your living room is not justifying the purchase. It's not doing anything for you if you're not using it. It's not a way to get your money's worth. A way to get your money's worth is to get something out of it. Sell it on Craigslist. Bless somebody in a garage sale. Like garage sales, I'm huge about garage sales, because the thing is that, number one, like the main thing, you will never, ever, ever get the same amount of money that you paid for something in a garage sale. And the reason why people leave certain garage sales so quickly is because it's the garage sales where people think, oh, well, I paid $10 for this, so I'm going to ask $8.
Yeah.
No, I'd ask 50 cents or $1. Like that, if you think about this at the grocery store, when people are waiting in line and there's all these little itty bitty, you know, things for $1 here, $1 there, they make a lot of money off of those things, because everyone's like, oh, well, I can buy it for, you know, 50 cents. And then the whole cycle starts again, because then you go to garage sales and you pick up stuff that, you know, don't pick it up just because it's a good price. Only pick it up if you know exactly where you're going to put it or what you're going to use it for. Have a plan for it. If it's, you know, I see a lot of people who, and trust me, there's absolutely no judgment. I don't know everything there is to know about each and every person. They can have whatever style they want. I do notice there's a lot of people who have a lot of the same categories. Like they'll have a lot of Christmas decorations or Halloween decorations, and there's no way that they can use every single one of them. And what they end up doing is they really use the exact same ones every single year. And so all those other ones just take up in storage, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm a wicker basket freak. That would be my, I love wicker baskets. I think they're so fun. I always think they'll be useful. And yet, and I'm like, oh, it's only going to cost me 25 cents to get it. And then I get home and it's the wrong shape. And I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And so my trick is that I just about live for Craigslist, because when I do stupid things like that, I can put things together as like a collection of things that are all very similar. Some crazy person out there that loves them as much as I do will come, and I don't have to store them in my home. And I just find that, but it's crazy how much money you can make on Craigslist with that kind of thing, because you don't have to put a weekend aside to do a garage sale. You just put it out there. Whoever wants it will call you when they want it. And yeah, so for me, it's hard not to be a hoarder while you're waiting to have somebody want it. But before I can hear my children in the background. You probably can't hear them, but I can hear them going outside in a thunderstorm. So I might have to pull it a little bit close, but I did want to talk more about the podcast that we're going to be doing. And did we want to talk about your husband's podcast? What do we want to say about what is happening? We're super excited about it, by the way.
We are very, very excited. I'm thrilled. I'm sure y'all can tell I really love to talk. And it's really exciting to talk to somebody who also, you can tell that you share a passion for these things because you get excited about them. And I don't know. I'm so excited about that. My husband does have a podcast. It's No Business Like Mow Business, because he mows lawns. And we also have countrycraftswood.com. He makes rustic signs, and he also does decals and t-shirts and stuff. So check it out. That would be awesome. For me, I just started the Instagram. So we're going to start putting stuff on there. So if anybody has any questions that they would like both of us to talk about, whether it's organizing or gardens or homesteading, canning, anything, you do a video a day. And I've been looking at it and I'm like, man, she's genius. Like, that's awesome. And it's so much information and it's great. You can really learn a lot. But what I was going to say is that you can either go on the Instagram, which is Jill's of All Trades podcast. That's what the Instagram is called. And you can put any questions. I'll go ahead and put something up today, and then that way you can comment on it. But if you have any questions that you want us to address, or if it works better for you to do like email, you can do Jill's of All Trades podcast at gmail.com. And then we can try and incorporate that, because it'd be nice to also talk about what other people are having questions about. We could talk the entire time, but it's more fun to, to involve everybody and to just see like if there's any way to help anybody answer questions right away instead of them having to go, you can Google stuff, you know what I mean? But you have to read through a bunch of stuff. So it's easier to just, ask those questions and stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, and if anybody has any really big suggestions, but they're like, I have this burning desire of something that Julianne hasn't ever talked about before, that we need to do a show on this, we can do it for the podcast. And then once we do have our podcast up, didn't you say that iTunes, people can go on iTunes and rate them?
Yeah, that is huge for our podcast. We really want to get the word out there. For our work, we are doing a Patreon account with it, where it'll help Julianne on the farm, and it'll also help us to get equipment for better sound, because we actually did a podcast the other day, our first one, and it went from 45 minutes to I think like 32 or something like that, because the sound somehow got messed up. So we'd like to get better equipment for that. Plus, if you guys donate through Patreon, then we won't have to put commercials on it, and we can do them more often too. The iTunes. Okay. So for iTunes, if you go to iTunes, takes literally like a minute. It's kind of like if you go on Facebook and you like a post. I mean, it's very important. It shows your support and stuff, and it'll actually help us get the podcast out, because if we get a good rating when it first comes out, then we'll be bumped up to where it says what's new and stuff. And then people will be able to find our podcast easier if people go and review it. So please listen. We're planning on having the first 5 out all at once so that you can, kind of get a good feel for how the podcast is going to go. So yeah.
We're excited. And it won't replace Braid Girls. Oh, I keep getting feedback. I have to stop and let it adjust. There we go. Okay. So, and it's not going to replace Braid Girls. What it's going to be is it's going to be something completely separate that Cinnamon and I are doing. It's not going to be, obviously viewers from the Dirtpatcheaven will go over and watch it, but it's not going to be connected to Dirtpatcheaven, or it would be called Dirtpatcheaven podcast. So it's Jill's of All Trades. And watch in our videos. I'll be talking about it more. And again, what Simon said, when we have 5 up, that's when we'll put them up, and that's when we'll tell you can go check it out. And so we're really excited, and I better go get my kids out of a thunderstorm. It's so hard when my dad's not home and I'm trying to do one of these, because then I'm just like, oh, I need to go discipline them or save them from something. And it's just like, oh, too bad. You're linked to this computer.
Isn't rain like good for your hair? I heard that somewhere. Is that true?
Really?
Like rain, because the water in the rain is more natural than the rain that you would use like in a shower or anything like that. And it has nutrients and stuff.
Like soft water? It might be. I don't know. I don't
It
know.
makes
Our water
plants grow, so
I don't know. Mostly it's just kind of a nasty wind and a lot of clouds coming over. So I don't know what the weather's doing. I can't tell because my curtains are kind of closed. But okay, so everybody, make sure to like and subscribe and watch for when our podcasts come out, and go check out the links. So you have, tell me Derek's podcast again, because he already has podcasts up. What's Derek's podcast?
It's No Business Like Mo Business.
No Business Like Mo Business. And where do they find that?
At no. Yeah. I had to ask him real quick. No Business Like mobusiness.com.
Okay, so that's where they'll find that. And then the Country Crafts Woods.
No S on the wood.
No S on the wood. Countrycraftswood.com.
Yeah. Yes.
.com. Okay, so it's not an Etsy store, it's an actual website. Okay, so I love you guys, and watch for all this amazing stuff, and go check out all their links, and we will talk to you later.
Thank you for having me on, by the way.
I know, right? It was totally fun.